Commander Sarah Chun walked through the metal halls of Earth Station Alpha. Her boots made soft sounds on the floor. Outside the windows, she could see stars. 50 years ago, those stars meant nothing to humans. Now they were full of alien friends. Or so everyone thought. Sarah stopped at her office door. The sign read Colonial Defense Force Intelligence Division. She had been working here for 10 years. Her job was to keep Earth safe. But today, something felt wrong, the message had. Come in 3 hours ago. It was marked top secret and came from Agent Williams. He was working deep inside alien space. The Coalition called it cultural exchange. Humans went to alien worlds to learn and work. At least that was what everyone believed. Sarah sat down at her desk. She opened the encrypted file. Her hands shook as she read the first line. Commander Chun, we are not exchange workers. We are slaves. The words hit her like a punch to the stomach. She read on. Agent Williams had been on the planet Caraxus for 2 years. He was supposed to be learning about alien mining technology. Instead, he was forced to work in dangerous mines. No pay, no freedom, no way home, but that was not the worst part. Williams had found documents, secret Coalition papers that showed the truth. Every alien species in the galaxy had voted. They all agreed. Humans would be their new slave race, Sarah felt. Sick. She kept reading. The aliens had planned this from the very beginning. When they first came to Earth 50 years ago, they seemed friendly. They offered technology. They offered trade. They offered a place in the galactic community. But it was all a lie. The Coalition had studied humans for years before making contact. They knew humans were strong. They knew humans were smart. They knew humans could survive in many different environments. Perfect slaves, the document showed voting records. 847 alien species. Every single one voted yes. Even the species that had once been slaves themselves. They saw a chance to move up in the galactic order. They would step on humans to do it. Sarah's computer beeped. Another message from Williams. This one had photos. Humans working in alien factories. Humans cleaning alien homes. Humans fighting in alien gladiator pits for entertainment. All of them had come from Earth thinking they were going to better lives. She looked at the numbers. 40% of Earth's population had left the planet in the last 50 years. That was 3 billion people. 3 billion humans scattered across the galaxy. All of them slaves. The Coalition was smart about it. They did not take people by force. They made it look like opportunities. Come work on Vega Prime. Great pay and benefits. Join the Delphinian Cultural Program. See the galaxy. Mine rare. Crystals on Caraxus. Retire rich. All lies. Sarah thought about her own brother. David had left for the Anteri system 5 years ago. He was supposed to be teaching human languages to alien children. She had not heard from him in 2 years. The Coalition said communication was difficult across such distances. Now she knew the real reason. She opened another file. This one showed how the aliens controlled humans. Shock collars that looked like jewelry. Drugs in the food that made people forget about home. Punishment systems that no human rights group would ever allow. The aliens had turned humans into property. The worst part was how they divided humans. On each world, a few humans got better treatment. They became guards over the others. The aliens were clever. They knew humans would fight each other if given the chance. Divide and control. Sarah stood up and walked to the window. Earth looked peaceful from here, cities full of lights. Oceans blue and clean. Most people down there had no idea what was happening. They thought their friends and family were living wonderful lives among the stars. She thought about the alien ambassadors on Earth. They smiled and shook hands with human leaders. They gave speeches about friendship and cooperation. They attended parties and cultural events. All while their people were enslaving humans across the galaxy. The Coalition had even set up fake communication networks. Families on Earth got messages from their loved ones. Having a great time on Rigel 4. The aliens are so nice. Wish you were here. The messages were written by coalition propaganda teams. The real humans were too busy working to write anything. Sarah's door chimed. She turned around. "Come in." It was Colonel Martinez, her commanding officer. He looked worried. "Jun, we need to talk. Close the door." She pressed the button. The door sealed shut. "Sir, I was just about to call you." "I have some information that—" "I know," Martinez said. He sat down heavily. "Williams is not the only one. We have agents on 12 different worlds now. They are all reporting the same thing: slavery, mass slavery." Sarah felt her anger building. "How long have you known?" "I got the first report 6 months ago. I thought they were mistakes, or maybe isolated incidents. But the evidence keeps coming in. Chun, this is bigger than we thought. The entire galactic community is built on slave labor. And now we are part of it." Martinez put a data pad on her desk. "Look at this. Coalition shipping records. They list humans as biological resources. They trade us like cattle. A strong human worker is worth 10 alien credits. A skilled human engineer is worth 50. Sarah picked up the pad. She scrolled through page after page of records, humans bought and sold. Humans shipped from world to world. Humans listed by age, strength, and intelligence. It was horrifying. "What about our government?" she asked. "Do they know?" Martinez shook his head. "The coalition has been very careful. They bribe human officials with alien technology. They promise Earth will join the Galactic Council soon. They keep our leaders happy while they steal our people." Sarah thought about President Harrison. He often spoke about Earth's bright future among the stars. He praised the coalition for their friendship. He encouraged young people to join the exchange programs. Did he know, or was he being fooled too? "There is more," Martinez said. He activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked coalition worlds. These are not just the worlds where humans work. These are the worlds where humans die. The display showed mortality rates. On some worlds, humans died within months. The work was too dangerous. The environment was too harsh. The aliens did not care. They could always get more humans from Earth. "Medical experiments," Martinez continued. "They use humans to test new drugs. New weapons, new technologies. We heal fast and adapt quickly. Perfect test subjects." Sarah felt rage building inside. These aliens had pretended to be friends. They had invited humans into their homes. They had shared meals and stories, all while planning to enslave the entire human race. "What about the ones who resist?" she asked. Martinez's face grew dark. "They make examples. Public executions, torture. They broadcast it to other human slaves as a warning. The message is clear. Obey or suffer." The room was quiet for a moment. Sarah stared at the galactic map, all those red dots, all those humans suffering, all those families on Earth who would never see their loved ones again. "Sir, we have to do something," she said. "We cannot let this continue," Martinez nodded. "I agree, but what can we do? Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their fleets could destroy Earth in days. We are outnumbered 800 to 1. Sarah looked at the data again. She studied the coalition structure. She thought about human history. Humans had faced impossible odds before. Sometimes they lost, but sometimes they found a way to win. "Maybe we are thinking about this wrong," she said. "We are looking at their strengths. What about their weaknesses?" Martinez raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Look at this." Sarah pointed to the coalition organizational chart. 847 species. That is not a strength. That is a weakness. They all have different goals, different cultures, different ideas about how to run things. The only thing holding them together is the slave system." She stood up and began pacing. "And they are arrogant. They think humans are primitive. They think we are weak. They do not see us as a threat. That gives us an advantage." Martinez was listening carefully now. "Go on. We have been studying their technology for 50 years. We have human agents on hundreds of worlds. We know their weaknesses, their security systems. Their military protocols. We have been learning while they have been complacent. Sarah felt a plan forming in her mind. It was dangerous. It was probably impossible, but it might be their only chance. Colonel, I need you to contact Agent Williams and all our other deep cover agents. Tell them to start gathering more information, not just about the slavery, about everything: ship movements, military bases, technology weaknesses, government structures, everything. Martinez stood up. Chun. What are you thinking? Sarah looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, 3 billion humans were suffering. They were waiting for rescue. They were hoping someone would remember them. I am thinking about war, sir. Real war, the kind humans are very good at. Martinez was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just spotted prey. I will make the calls, he said. But Jun, if we do this, there is no going back. The coalition will not show mercy. Sarah turned to face him. Her eyes were cold. Good, because we will not show mercy either. As Martinez left, Sarah sat back down at her desk. She opened a new file and began typing. The document was labeled Project Pandora Preliminary Assessment. The aliens thought they knew humans. They thought humans were weak and simple. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Earth would not beg for mercy. Earth would not accept slavery. Earth would show the galaxy what happened when you backed humans into a corner. The war had not started yet, but it was coming. And when it did, the coalition would learn why humans had survived when 99% of species on Earth had gone extinct. They would learn that enslaving humanity was the biggest mistake in galactic history. Sarah worked through the night, planning humanity's response. Outside her window, the stars watched silently. Soon, some of those stars would go dark forever. 3 weeks later, Commander Sarah Chun stood in the United Colonial Council chambers. The room was full of Earth's most powerful leaders. President Harrison sat at the center table. His face was pale. The evidence was spread out before him like a nightmare made real. 3 billion people, President Harrison said quietly. 3 billion of our people are slaves. Defense Secretary Morrison nodded grimly. The reports are consistent across all worlds. Our people are property. They are. Bought and sold like animals. Sarah had spent weeks gathering proof. Photos of humans in chains. Video recordings of alien slave markets. Documents showing trade agreements for human workers. The evidence was overwhelming. Foreign Minister Davis shook her head. I cannot believe this. Ambassador Kethelin assured me personally that humans were treated as equals in coalition space. Ambassador Kethelin lied, Sarah said. They all lied. For 50 years they have been planning this. We were never partners. We were always meant to be slaves. General Hayes, the head of Earth's military, studied the tactical reports. Their fleet strength is massive. Over 10,000 warships. We have maybe 200 ships that could fight in space. Numbers are not everything, Colonel Martinez said. He had been working with Sarah to develop response options. The coalition has weaknesses. They are overconfident. They think we are helpless. President Harrison looked older than his 70 years. What are our options? Can we negotiate? Offer them something else in exchange for our people? Sarah stepped forward. Sir, with respect, we tried negotiation for 50 years. It got us into this mess. The coalition sees us as inferior. They will never negotiate as equals. Then what do you suggest? The president asked. We make them an offer they cannot refuse. Sarah said, we give them a choice. Return our people or face the consequences. Several council members laughed. Secretary Morrison spoke first. Commander, what consequences? Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. They have thousands of worlds, billions of soldiers. What could we possibly threaten them with? Sarah had expected this reaction. Sir, may I show you something? She activated the holographic display. A star map appeared, showing coalition territory. This is how they see the galaxy: organized, controlled, peaceful. But look closer. The display zoomed in on specific regions. Red markers appeared. These are conflict zones. The coalition is not as united as they appear. The Zephyrian Empire has been fighting border wars with the crystalline hegemony for decades. The Aquatic Alliance wants independence from coalition control. There are dozens of rebel groups across their territory. She changed the display, and this is their economic system. It depends completely on slave labor. Take away the slaves, and their entire civilization collapses. We are not just workers to them, we are the foundation of their society. General Hayes was studying the tactical data. You are suggesting we could destabilize their entire empire? I am suggesting we could destroy it, Sarah said. But first, we give them a chance to do the right thing. President Harrison was quiet for several minutes. Finally, he spoke. What exactly are you proposing? Sarah had prepared for this moment. We send a delegation to Nexus Prime, their capital. World, we present them with evidence of their crimes. We demand the immediate return of all human slaves. And we give them a deadline. And if they refuse? Foreign Minister Davis asked. Sarah's expression was cold. Then we show them why our species survived when 99% of others on Earth went extinct? The room fell silent. Everyone understood what she meant. War, total war. President Harrison sighed. Very well, I will lead the delegation myself. No. Sir, Sarah said quickly. With respect, you are too valuable. If something happens to you, Earth loses its leader. Send Ambassador Webb, he knows their protocols. General Hayes nodded. She is right, Mr. President. We need you here to coordinate our response. 3 days later, Ambassador Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of the Earthship Destiny. Next to him was Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Earth's top cynobiologist. Behind them stood a team of diplomats and military advisors. The ship was approaching. Nexus Prime. The coalition capital was a massive world, 3 times the size of Earth. Artificial ring structures surrounded the planet like glowing jewelry. Millions of ships moved between the rings and the surface. Impressive? Dr. Rodriguez said. I count at least 50 different ship designs. All the major coalition species are represented here. Ambassador Webb was not impressed. Built with slave labor, all of it. The communication system activated. An alien voice spoke in perfect English. Earth Vessel Destiny, this is Nexus Control. You are cleared for landing at Diplomatic Bay 7. Welcome to the heart of galactic civilization. Webb wanted to respond with what he really thought. Instead, he kept his voice professional. Thank you, Nexus Control, preparing for landing approach. The ship descended through the planet's atmosphere. The cities below were enormous. Gleaming towers reached into the clouds. Flying vehicles moved in organized patterns. Everything looked perfect and peaceful, but Webb knew the truth. Somewhere in those beautiful cities, humans were scrubbing floors and hauling garbage. Somewhere in the perfect towers, human slaves were working to maintain the illusion of paradise. They landed at the diplomatic complex. It was larger than most. Earth cities. Beings from hundreds of different species walked around the landing areas. Some looked almost human. Others were completely alien. All of them were free. None of them were human. A delegation of coalition officials waited for them. At the center stood Chancellor Zixthal of the hegemony species. He was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. His species had been the first to form the coalition 3,000 years ago. Ambassador Webb, the Chancellor said. His voice was smooth and friendly. Welcome to Nexus Prime. We are honored by your visit. Webb forced himself to smile. Thank you, Chancellor. We appreciate your hospitality. They were escorted to the Coalition Council chambers. The building was massive, with a dome that could be seen from orbit. Inside, representatives from all 847 member species were gathered. The humans were given seats in the center of the chamber. Webb felt like he was in a zoo. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at them with curiosity and amusement. Chancellor Zixthal called the session to order. Honored beings, we are gathered today to hear a presentation from our friends from Earth. Ambassador. Webb, the floor is yours. Webb stood up. His heart was pounding, but his voice was steady. Thank you, Chancellor. I come before you today to discuss a matter of grave importance. He activated a holographic display. Images appeared showing human slaves on coalition worlds, humans in chains, humans being sold at markets, humans dying in dangerous work conditions. The reaction was immediate. Some aliens looked surprised. Others looked annoyed. A few seemed genuinely shocked. But most just looked bored, as if this was old news. For 50 years, Webb continued, you have told us that humans who leave Earth are participating in cultural exchange programs. You have told us they are learning and growing and building better lives. You lied, murmurs filled the chamber. Chancellor Zixtel raised one of his hands for silence. Webb kept talking. 3 billion humans are enslaved across your worlds. They work without pay. They live without freedom. They die without dignity. This ends today. He paused and looked around the chamber. The United Earth government demands the immediate return of all human slaves. We demand reparations for the suffering you have caused. And we demand a formal apology for 50 years of betrayal. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens were shouting in dozens of languages. Some sounded angry, others sounded amused. None sounded worried. Chancellor Zixtel stood up. His forearms moved in a gesture that called for silence. Ambassador Webb, I must say I'm disappointed. We had hoped that Earth's leaders would be more reasonable. The Chancellor activated his own display. It showed coalition military strength. Thousands of warships, millions of soldiers, advanced weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. Perhaps you do not understand your position, the Chancellor said. Your species exists at our sufferance. You have been allowed to join galactic civilization because we found you useful. Do not mistake our generosity for weakness. Webb felt anger rising in his chest. Generosity? You call slavery generosity? We call it order, the Chancellor replied. Every species has its place in the galactic community. Some are leaders, some are workers, some are resources. Your species is a resource, a very valuable resource. Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward. And what gives you the right to decide our place? An alien from the aquatic Delphinian species spoke up. The right of the strong over the weak. The right of the advanced over the primitive. The right of civilization over barbarism. Webb noticed something interesting. The Delphinians had once been enslaved by other coalition species. Now they were enslaving humans. The pattern was clear. Each species stepped on the ones below them to rise higher. Chancellor Zixtel continued. However, we are not unreasonable. We understand that this news may be disturbing to Earth's leadership. We are prepared to offer you a choice. The chamber grew quiet. Every alien was watching the humans. You may accept your species' role willingly, the Chancellor said. We will establish formal protocols for human labor recruitment. Earth's government will receive technology and resources in exchange. Your people will be treated well according to galactic standards for biological resources. Webb felt sick. They were offering to make slavery official, to put a price on human freedom, and if we refuse? Webb asked. The Chancellor's expression grew cold. Then you will learn what happens to species that reject galactic order. Your primitive military cannot protect you. Your single world cannot. Hide from us. You will submit or you will be destroyed. The chamber filled with approving sounds from the alien delegates. They thought this was over. They thought humans would surrender. Webb stood up slowly. He looked around the chamber at 847 species that had voted to enslave his people. He thought about 3 billion humans suffering on distant worlds. He thought about Commander Chun and her plans back on Earth. Chancellor Zixtel, Webb said. His voice carried clearly through the chamber. You have given us 30 days to accept slavery. That is very generous. The aliens seemed pleased. They thought the humans were giving in. Webb smiled. It was not a friendly smile, but I am afraid we must decline your offer. Instead, we have a counterproposal. The chamber grew quiet again. The Chancellor looked confused. A counterproposal? Yes, Webb said. You have 15 days to return every human slave to Earth. You have 15 days to pay reparations for 50 years of crimes. You have 15 days to dissolve your slave-based economy and grant freedom to all enslaved species. The silence lasted for exactly 3 seconds. Then the chamber exploded with laughter. Aliens were laughing so hard they could barely breathe. Some were pointing at the humans. Others were wiping tears from their eyes. Chancellor Zixthel held up his hands for quiet. Ambassador Webb, surely you are joking. What could your primitive species possibly threaten us with? Webb's smile grew wider. We could show you why our species survived when 99% of others on our world went extinct. The laughter stopped. The chamber was dead silent. 15 days, Webb repeated. Return our people or discover what happens when you back. Humans into a corner, he turned to his delegation. We are leaving. As they walked out of the chamber, Webb could hear the aliens talking behind them. Most still sounded amused, but a few sounded worried. They remembered that Earth was a death world. They remembered that humans had fought their way to the top of their planet's food chain. On the ship back to Earth, Dr. Rodriguez asked the question everyone was thinking. Marcus, do we actually have a plan, or are we just hoping to scare them? Webb thought about Commander Chen's reports. He thought about the secret preparations happening on Earth. He thought about 3 billion humans scattered across the galaxy, waiting for rescue. Elena, he said, they are about to learn something very important about humans. What is that? We do not make threats. We make promises. But behind them, Nexus Prime grew smaller in the view screen. In 15 days, the Coalition would learn whether humanity's promise was one they could survive. Commander Sarah Chun stood in the underground facility known as Pandora Base. It was built deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, hidden from alien surveillance. The base did not exist on any official records. To the outside world, this was just another military research station, but Pandora Base was where humanity prepared for the impossible. Status report, Sarah said to Dr. James Morrison, the head of the Weapons Research Division. Dr. Morrison looked tired but excited. We are ahead of schedule, Commander. The nanobots are ready for deployment. The quantum viruses have passed all tests, and the biological weapons. Double quote. He paused. The biological weapons are terrifying. Sarah walked through the research labs. Scientists worked around the clock in clean rooms and testing chambers. They wore protective suits and handled materials that could kill entire species. These were Earth's best minds, working on Earth's darkest project. Show me the nanobots first, Sarah said. Dr. Morrison led her to a sealed chamber. Inside, a piece of alien metal sat on a table. It looked normal. Then Morrison activated a control panel. Tiny robots, smaller than bacteria, were released into the chamber. Within minutes, the alien metal began to dissolve. The nanobots ate it from the inside out, reproducing themselves as they fed. In an hour, there was nothing left but gray dust. Each nanobot targets specific alien alloys, Morrison explained. The Coalition uses the same metals across all their worlds, ship hulls, building frames, computer systems. Everything. Sarah nodded. How do we deploy them? The beauty is in the delivery system, Morrison said. We have been sending them to Coalition worlds for months, hidden in trade goods, embedded in gift packages, even in the food supplies for human workers. He showed her a display. Red dots marked Coalition worlds where nanobots were already in place. There were hundreds of them. They are dormant now, Morrison continued, waiting for the activation signal. When we send that signal, every piece of alien technology on those worlds will start falling apart. Sarah smiled grimly. The aliens thought their technology was superior. They were about to learn that superior technology meant nothing when it could be eaten by microscopic robots. What about the quantum viruses? She asked. Dr. Sarah Kim, the computer systems expert, took over the briefing. Even better than the nanobots. We have mapped the Coalition's entire communication network. Every world, every ship, every computer system. She activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Lines of light connected thousands of worlds, representing the Coalition's quantum communication grid. The virus will spread through their network in seconds, Dr. Kim explained. It will target navigation systems, life support controls, and defensive grids. Ships will lose power. Space stations will stop working. Planetary defenses will shut down. Sarah studied the network map. How did we map all of this? Human slaves, Dr. Kim said. For 50 years, we have been sending our best engineers and technicians to alien worlds. The Coalition wanted our skills. They got our skills. But they also got our access to their systems. Sarah felt a surge of pride. Humans had been preparing for this war without even knowing it. Every engineer who fixed an alien computer had mapped its weaknesses. Every technician who maintained alien equipment had found ways to sabotage it. The biological weapons are the most complex, Dr. Morrison said, as they moved to the final lab. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was waiting for them. She had returned from Nexus Prime with detailed scans of alien biology. Her face was grim. We have created targeted pathogens for every major Coalition species, she said. Each virus is designed to attack specific alien immune systems. Humans will be completely immune. She showed them samples in sealed containers. Each one looked harmless. Clear liquids in small vials. But Sarah knew they contained death for entire species. How do they work? Sarah asked. We base them on alien DNA samples collected during 50 years of contact, Rodriguez explained. Remember all those cultural exchanges? All those diplomatic meetings? All those alien ambassadors who visited Earth? We collected genetic material from all of them. Sarah was impressed by the long-term planning. How deadly are they? Rodriguez hesitated. Commander, these are not weapons of war. These are weapons of extinction. Once released, they will kill every member of targeted species. There is no cure, there is no treatment. There is no immunity, except for humans. The room was quiet. Sarah understood the weight of what they were planning. This was not just war, this was genocide on a galactic scale. The question is, Rodriguez continued, are we really going to use them? Sarah thought about 3 billion human slaves. She thought about children sold at alien markets. She thought about humans dying in alien gladiator pits for entertainment. She thought about 50 years of lies and betrayal. If they do not return our people, she said, yes, we will use them. Colonel Martinez entered the lab. Commander, we have a problem. Our deep cover agents are reporting increased alien military activity. They know something is happening. Sarah followed him to the command center. Screens showed intelligence reports from across Coalition space. Human slaves were being moved to more secure locations. Alien military units were being put on high alert. Coalition fleets were moving toward defensive positions. They are scared, Martinez said. Ambassador Webb's ultimatum worked. They are taking the threat seriously. Good, Sarah said. Fear makes people make mistakes. Agent Williams appeared on the main screen. He was broadcasting from the planet Caraxus, where he had been enslaved for 2 years. His face was thin and scarred, but his eyes were bright with hope. Commander Chun, he said, the aliens are panicking. They are moving human workers to underground facilities. They think we are going to invade their worlds with conventional forces. Sarah smiled. Let them think that. What about the other agents? All teams are in position, Williams reported. We have people embedded in every major Coalition facility, military bases, government buildings, research stations. When you give the word, we can sabotage everything simultaneously. Another screen. Activated. Agent Park was reporting from the Delphinian homeworld. Commander, I am inside their naval command center. The Delphinians are arguing with other Coalition species. Some want to attack Earth immediately. Others want to wait and see if we are bluffing. Sarah studied the reports. The Coalition was already fracturing. Fear was driving them apart. Agent Park, what about their fleet positions? Massive mobilization. Park replied. They are gathering ships from across the galaxy. At least 5,000 warships are moving toward Earth, but it will take them weeks to organize such a large force. Perfect, Sarah thought. The aliens were doing exactly what humans wanted them to do. They were concentrating their forces in one area, leaving the rest of their territory vulnerable. Dr. Morrison approached her with a tablet. Commander, we have completed the final weapon tests. Everything is ready for deployment. Sarah looked at the test results. The nanobots could consume an entire space station in hours. The quantum viruses could shut down planetary defenses in minutes. The biological weapons could kill entire species in days. Earth had spent 50 years learning from alien technology. Now they were going to use that knowledge to destroy the teachers. What about our own defenses? Sarah asked General Hayes, who had just arrived from Earth's orbital defense platforms. We have turned the entire solar system into a fortress, Hayes reported. The asteroid belt has been weaponized. Every chunk of rock larger than a car now has engines and explosives. We can launch millions of kinetic projectiles at any approaching fleet. He activated a display showing the solar system. The asteroid belt glowed with thousands of weapon platforms. Jupiter's moons were covered with manufacturing facilities. Even tiny Pluto had been converted into a long-range sensor station. The moon? Sarah asked. Completely hollowed out, Hayes said with pride. It is now the largest weapon platform in human space. Railguns that can hit targets in the outer solar system. Missile launchers with nuclear warheads. And some weapons that violate several galactic warfare conventions. Sarah raised an eyebrow. What kind of weapons? Hayes grinned. Let us just say that when the Coalition fleet arrives, they will discover that humans have some very creative ideas about space warfare. The preparations were almost complete. In just a few days, Earth would either be free or destroyed. There was no middle ground. Sarah walked to the main display. It showed a countdown timer. 11 days until the ultimatum expired. 11 days. Until the Coalition had to choose between returning human slaves or facing human vengeance. Status of the sleep agents? She asked Martinez. All activated, he replied. We have humans in position on over 300 Coalition worlds. They are ready to begin sabotage operations on your command. Sarah thought about those brave men and women. They had volunteered for this mission knowing they might not survive. They were willing to die to free their people. Communication with Earth Fleet? Admiral Thompson reports all ships ready, Martinez said. We have modified our vessels with alien technology. They are not as advanced as Coalition ships, but they have some surprises. Sarah nodded. Earth's fleet was small compared to the Coalition armada, but it did not need to win a traditional space battle. It just needed to survive long enough for the real weapons to do their work. Ma'am, Agent Williams called from Coraxis. I have something you need to see. His image was replaced by surveillance footage from a Coalition military meeting. Alien leaders were arguing in their council chambers. They are debating whether to attack Earth immediately, Williams translated. Some species want to destroy us before we can carry out our threat. Others think we are bluffing and want to. Wait, Sarah watched the aliens argue. They looked worried. Good, they should be worried. Chancellor Zixthal appeared in the footage. He was speaking to the assembled Coalition leaders. The humans cannot be serious, he was saying. Their technology is primitive. Their military is tiny. They have no allies. What could they possibly do to us? General Corax of the Zephyrian. Empire stood up. You underestimate them, Chancellor. Earth is a death world. The creatures that survive there are dangerous. Perhaps we should take their threat seriously. Impossible, Chancellor Zixthal replied. They are slaves. They exist to serve us. They would not dare challenge the galactic order. Sarah smiled as she watched the debate. The Coalition's greatest weakness was their arrogance. They could not imagine that their slaves might be capable of resistance, but they were about to learn. In 11 days, the galaxy would discover what happened when you enslaved humanity. In 11 days, the Coalition would face an enemy they never saw coming. Sarah turned to her team. Final preparations. Check all systems. Confirm all agent positions. Prepare for simultaneous deployment across all target worlds. She paused and looked around the room. These people had worked for months to prepare Earth's response. They had created weapons that could destroy civilizations. They had planned operations that would reshape the galaxy. In 11 days, she said, we will either free our people or die trying. Either way, the Coalition will remember the day they decided to enslave humanity. The countdown continued. 11 days, 10 days, 9 days. The Coalition still thought they were dealing with primitive slaves. Soon, they would learn they were facing apex predators who had been pretending to be prey. Day 15 arrived like any other day in Coalition space. The sun rose over Nexus Prime, alien workers went to their jobs. Ships moved between planets, everything seemed normal. The Coalition leaders had dismissed Earth's ultimatum as an empty threat. They were wrong. At exactly 12 o'clock Universal Time, Commander Sarah Chun sent a single quantum burst transmission from Pandora Base. The message was only one word: execute. Across the galaxy, 3 billion human slaves received the signal. They had been waiting for this moment for months. Some were cleaning alien buildings. Others were working in alien factories. Many were suffering in alien prisons. All of them were ready. Agent Williams was working in the mines of Caraxus when his hidden communicator vibrated. He looked around carefully. The alien guards were not watching. He pressed a small device hidden in his uniform. Nanobots that had been dormant in the mine's equipment suddenly came to life. The mining machines began to break down. Metal supports started dissolving. Within minutes, the entire mine complex was collapsing. Williams smiled as he ran toward the exit. Behind him, alien supervisors were screaming in confusion. Their advanced technology was eating itself on the Delphinian homeworld. Agent Park was cleaning the floors in their Naval Command Center. When the signal came, she activated a quantum virus hidden in her cleaning equipment. The virus spread through the building's computer system in seconds. Every screen in the command center went dark. Life support systems failed. Emergency doors locked shut. The Delphinian admiral tried to call for help, but the communication systems were dead. Park walked calmly out of the building as alarms began to sound. She had more targets to hit. Across Coalition space, the pattern repeated on hundreds of worlds. Human slaves activated hidden weapons and sabotage devices. They destroyed power plants, communication centers, and military bases. They released biological weapons into alien water supplies. They turned the Coalition's own technology against them. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their slaves were supposed to be broken and helpless. Instead, they were organized and deadly on Nexus Prime. Chancellor Zixtel was in his office when the reports started coming in. His aide rushed in with a data pad. Chancellor, we are receiving emergency signals from across the Coalition. Infrastructure. Failures on over 200 worlds. Some kind of coordinated attack. The Chancellor grabbed the data pad. His 4 hands shook as he read the reports. Mining colonies collapsing. Space stations losing power. Military bases under attack. And in every case, human slaves were missing. Impossible, he whispered. The humans are slaves. They do not have the organization for something like this. More reports flooded in. The attacks were not random. They were hitting critical infrastructure with surgical precision, power grids, communication networks, military command centers. Someone had planned this very carefully. The Chancellor activated his emergency communicator. Get me Admiral Corax. Full priority, the communicator crackled. Then went dead. A new report came in. The quantum virus had infected Nexus Prime's communication grid. They were cut off from the rest of the Coalition. The Chancellor felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear on Earth. Sarah Chun watched the reports come in from around the galaxy. Her hidden agents were exceeding all expectations. Coalition worlds were going dark one by one as their infrastructure collapsed. Phase 1 complete, Colonel Martinez reported. All primary targets hit successfully. Enemy communication networks are down across 40% of Coalition space. Sarah nodded. Begin Phase 2. Admiral Thompson's voice came over the intercom. from Earth's orbital defense platform. Fleet command to Pandora Base. Coalition ships detected at the edge of the solar system. They are trying to organize an attack force. Sarah activated the tactical display. It showed the outer solar system. Hundreds of coalition warships were approaching from multiple directions. They were trying to surround Earth. How many ships? She asked. At least 3,000, Admiral Thompson replied. More arriving every hour. They brought everything they have. Perfect, Sarah thought. The coalition was doing exactly what Earth wanted them to do. They were concentrating their forces for a massive attack on humanity's homeworld that left the rest of their territory nearly defenseless. Admiral, begin the demonstration, Sarah ordered. In the asteroid belt, hidden weapon platforms came online. Millions of rocks that had been floating peacefully in space suddenly sprouted engines and targeting systems. They turned toward the approaching coalition fleet. The first wave of kinetic projectiles hit the alien ships before they knew what was happening. Chunks of rock traveling at incredible speeds punched through advanced alien armor like it was paper. Entire warships exploded in balls of fire. Admiral Corax, commanding the coalition fleet from his flagship, watched in horror as his ships were destroyed by flying rocks. How is this possible? These are just asteroids. His tactical officer was analyzing the attacks. Sir, the asteroids have been weaponized. Engines, guidance systems, explosive charges. The entire belt has been turned into a weapon. Corax felt a chill run down his spine. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. This was not the work of a primitive species. This was the work of a military genius. All ships, evasive maneuvers, he ordered. Return fire on the asteroid platforms. The coalition. Ships fired their advanced energy weapons at the asteroids. Some of them exploded. But there were millions of asteroids. For every one they destroyed, 10 more fired back. On Earth's moon, hidden weapon systems came online. The entire satellite had been converted into a massive gun platform. Railguns that could hit targets millions of kilometers away. Missile systems. With warheads that violated several galactic treaties, the moon fired energy beams and missiles streaked across space. They hit coalition ships with devastating effect. The aliens' energy shields, designed to stop conventional weapons, were useless against humanity's modified technology. Admiral Corax watched his fleet being torn apart. Ships that had cost billions of credits to build were being destroyed by humans who were supposed to be primitive slaves. Sir, his communications officer called out, we are getting reports from across coalition space. Our worlds are under attack. Infrastructure is collapsing everywhere. Corax realized the truth. This was not just an attack on the coalition fleet. This was a coordinated assault on the entire alien civilization. While the coalition had concentrated its forces for an attack on Earth, humans had struck everywhere. Else, on the planet Vorthak, the crystalline aliens were dying. A human-made virus was spreading through their cities. It attacked their silicon-based biology, turning their crystal bodies into dust. The Vorthak had no natural immunity to organic pathogens. The Vorthak military tried to respond, but their equipment was failing. Nanobots were eating their metal structures. Computer viruses were shutting down their defense systems. Their slaves were gone, and their technology was destroying itself on the Zephyrian homeworld. General Corax's brother was watching their proud empire collapse. Zephyrian warships were losing power and crashing. Their orbital defense platforms were going offline. Human slaves who had been building their weapons were now using those same weapons against them. The Zephyrians were a warrior species. They had conquered dozens of worlds. But they had never faced an enemy like this, an enemy that had been living. Among them, learning their weaknesses, preparing for the perfect moment to strike, back in Earth's solar system, the battle was turning into a massacre. The coalition fleet was trapped between Earth's moon and the weaponized asteroid belt. Ships that tried to escape were hunted down by automated defense platforms. Admiral Corax tried to contact Nexus Prime for instructions, but the communication networks were down. He was on his own, commanding a fleet that was being destroyed by creatures he had always considered inferior. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we have lost 60% of our ships. The remaining vessels are requesting permission to retreat." Korax wanted to order a retreat, but where could they go? Human attacks were hitting coalition worlds across the galaxy. There might not be any safe places left on Earth. Sarah Chen was coordinating the global assault from Pandora Base. Reports were coming in from every theater of operation. The biological weapons were working perfectly. The nanobots were consuming alien technology faster than it could be replaced. The quantum viruses had shut down most coalition communication networks. "Status of the homeworlds?" she asked Dr. Rodriguez. 90% mortality rate on primary targets, Rodriguez replied. "The pathogens are spreading exactly as predicted. Most coalition species will be extinct within days." Sarah felt a moment of doubt. They were killing entire civilizations. Billions of alien beings were dying because their leaders had chosen to enslave humanity. Then she thought about 3 billion human slaves. She thought about children sold at alien markets. She thought about humans forced to fight in gladiator pits. She thought about 50 years of lies and betrayal. The doubt passed. "Continue the assault," she ordered. On Nexus Prime, Chancellor Zixthal was trapped in his office. The building systems had failed. Emergency power was running low. Outside, he could hear the sounds of chaos as the planet's infrastructure collapsed. His aide brought him the latest reports. "Chancellor, we have confirmed attacks on over 400 coalition worlds. Most of our military forces are trapped in the Sol system. The humans are systematically destroying our civilization." The Chancellor could not believe what he was hearing. "They are slaves. How could slaves do this to us?" "Sir," the aide said quietly, "I do not think they were ever really slaves." The truth was finally becoming clear. For 50 years, the Coalition had thought they were enslaving humanity. In reality, humanity had been infiltrating Coalition society, learning their technology, mapping their weaknesses. Preparing for war, the humans had been planning this from the beginning. In the Sol system, Admiral Korax made a desperate decision. If his fleet was going to die, they would take as many humans with them as possible. He ordered all remaining ships to break through the defensive lines and attack Earth directly. The Coalition ships charged toward the blue planet. They fired everything they had. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward Earth's surface. The attacks never reached their target. Earth's planetary defense grid came online. Massive energy shields covered the entire planet. Orbital weapons platforms intercepted incoming missiles. The planet was protected by technology the Coalition had never seen before. Admiral Korax realized the final truth. Earth's technology was not primitive, it was different. The humans had taken Coalition science and improved it in ways the aliens could never imagine. His flagship was hit by a railgun blast from the moon. As the ship broke apart around him, Admiral Korax sent one final message to any Coalition forces that might still be listening. "The humans were never our slaves," he transmitted. "We were always their prey." The transmission ended as his ship exploded. On Earth, Sarah Chun watched the last Coalition ships die in the cold vacuum of space. The battle for humanity's homeworld was over. But the war for human freedom was just beginning. Across the galaxy, Coalition civilization was collapsing. Their technology was eating itself. Their biological systems were failing. Their military forces were trapped or destroyed. Sarah activated the global communication system. Her voice was transmitted to every human on Earth and every human slave across Coalition space. "This is Commander Sarah Chun of Earth Defense Command. The time of slavery is over. The time of freedom has begun. To our people trapped on alien worlds, help is coming. To the aliens who enslaved us, your judgment day has arrived." The war was far from over. There were still Coalition forces to destroy. There were still human slaves to rescue. There were still alien worlds to conquer, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had shown the galaxy what happened when you backed apex predators into a corner. The Coalition had asked for war. Earth had brought Oblivion. 6 months after the first human attack, The galaxy was a very different place. Where once there had been 847 thriving civilizations, now there were only scattered survivors hiding in the dark spaces between stars. Commander Sarah Chun, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, stood on the bridge of the Earth battleship Vengeance. Through the viewing ports, she could see the remains of Nexus Prime. The Coalition capital world was a dead rock floating in space. Its cities were ruins, its oceans were poison. Nothing lived there anymore. Final report from the surface teams? Colonel Martinez said as he approached her. All Coalition leadership confirmed dead. Government buildings destroyed. Data archive secured, Sarah nodded. They had spent weeks hunting down every Coalition leader who had voted to enslave humanity. Chancellor Zixthal had been found hiding in an underground bunker. His four-armed body was now hanging from what remained of the Coalition Council building. What about the other core worlds? She asked. Martinez consulted his datapad. Vorthek. Homeworld. Complete extinction. Crystalline species eliminated by biological weapons. Delphinian homeworld. 97% mortality. Remaining population surrendered. Zephyrian Empire. 43 worlds glassed. Military resistance eliminated. Sarah looked at the numbers. Each statistic represented millions of dead aliens. Entire species erased from existence. Civilizations that had lasted thousands of years reduced to nothing. She felt no guilt. They had chosen this path when they decided to enslave humanity. Admiral, came a voice from the communication station. We are receiving a transmission from Earth. President Harrison wants to speak with you. Sarah activated the holographic display. President Harrison appeared, looking older than when she had last seen him. The weight of commanding a galactic war had aged him considerably. Admiral Chun, the president said. Congratulations on securing Nexus Prime. The victory celebrations on Earth have been going on for 3 days. Thank you, Mr. President, Sarah replied, but we are not finished yet. There are still Coalition remnants out there, and we still have humans to rescue. The president nodded. That brings me to why I am calling. The remaining alien species are asking for peace negotiations. They want to discuss terms for ending the war. Sarah felt anger rising in her chest. Peace negotiations? After what they did to our people? Admiral, we have destroyed most of their military forces. We have taken their core worlds. Perhaps it is time to consider. No, Sarah said firmly. Mr. President, with respect, they had 50 years to treat our people with dignity. They chose slavery instead. They had 30 days to return our people and make things right. They chose war instead. Now they face the consequences. President Harrison was quiet for a moment. Admiral, reports are coming in about the scope of the destruction. Entire species extinct, billions dead. The galactic community is calling us monsters, Sarah laughed bitterly. The galactic community? You mean the same species that voted unanimously? To enslave us? The same aliens who bought and sold our children like animals? They call us monsters? She stepped closer to the display. Mr. President, do you know what I found in the Coalition archives? Records of medical experiments on human children. Videos of humans being tortured for alien entertainment. Lists of humans sold to private collectors as exotic pets. The president's face grew pale. They did not just enslave us, Sarah continued. They dehumanized us. They treated us like animals. They thought we were too primitive to fight back. Now they learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. On the planet Coraxis, where Agent Williams had spent 2 years as a slave, human, liberation forces were freeing the remaining prisoners. The alien guards had surrendered without a fight. Most of their species was already dead. Williams walked through the slave quarters where he had lived for so long. The cells were tiny. The conditions were horrible. Humans had been packed in like cargo, with barely enough food to survive. Williams to Admiral Chun, he said into his communicator. Liberation of Coraxis complete. We found 12,000 human. Prisoners, most are in bad condition, but they will survive. Sarah's voice came back immediately. Excellent work, Agent Williams. What about the alien population? Dead or fled, Admiral? The biological weapons were very effective. The few survivors are begging for mercy. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Show them the same mercy they showed our people." Williams understood. No mercy at all across the galaxy. Similar scenes were playing out on hundreds of worlds. Human forces, led by former slaves who knew every detail of alien weaknesses, were systematically destroying what remained of Coalition civilization on the Aquatic Alliance worlds. The water-breathing aliens were dying from engineered parasites. Their underwater cities were collapsing as nanobots consumed their metal structures. The proud species that had once ruled the ocean worlds was extinct within weeks. On the insectoid collective worlds, hive-minded aliens found their neural networks disrupted by quantum viruses. Without their shared consciousness, they could not function. Their billion-member colonies collapsed into chaos and death. Species after species fell to human weapons designed specifically for their biology. The aliens had been so eager to study human DNA that they had given Earth everything needed to destroy them. Dr. Rodriguez reported the final numbers to Sarah. "Admiral, we have confirmed extinctions of 612 species. 47 species have populations below sustainable levels and will be extinct within a generation. 93 species have surrendered and are requesting asylum." Sarah studied the report. In less than a year, humanity had reduced the galactic population by 90%. It was the largest extinction event in galactic history. "What about our people?" she asked. "How many humans have we rescued?" 2.7 billion so far, Martinez replied. "Most are in rehabilitation facilities recovering from their experiences. But they are free." Sarah felt a moment of satisfaction. They had saved most of the enslaved humans. The cost had been the destruction of galactic civilization, but she considered it a fair trade. "Admiral," her tactical officer called out, "we are detecting ships approaching our position." "Unknown configuration." Sarah turned to the display. A small fleet of alien vessels was approaching Nexus Prime, but these ships were different. They were flying human flags. "Admiral, this is Captain Chun of the Liberation ship Hope," came a transmission. "We have refugees requesting to speak with you." "Refugees?" Sarah asked. The alien ships docked with her battleship. To Sarah's surprise, the beings who came aboard were not Coalition species. They were aliens she had never seen before. Small, gray-skinned creatures with large eyes. Their leader approached carefully. "Admiral Chun, I am Speaker Vex of the Forgotten. We represent species that were enslaved by the Coalition long before humans arrived." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Enslaved?" "Yes," Speaker Vex continued. "The Coalition has enslaved dozens of species. Over the centuries, we were among the first. When the Coalition turned humans into slaves, we thought it was just another tragedy, but then you fought back." Sarah gestured for them to continue. "We watched in amazement as you destroyed our oppressors." Speaker Vex said, "You did what we never thought possible. You broke the chains that held the galaxy in bondage." Other aliens came forward. Each one represented a different enslaved species. All of them had been forgotten by galactic history, reduced to property by Coalition greed. "Admiral," Speaker Vex said, "we do not ask for your mercy. We do not ask for your protection. We simply ask for the chance to live free." Sarah looked at these beings. They had suffered under Coalition rule just as humans had. They were victims, not oppressors. "You will have your freedom," she said. "But understand this, the old galaxy is dead. The Coalition is destroyed. We are building something new." "What kind of something?" Speaker Vex asked. Sarah thought about the question. What was humanity building from the ashes of the Coalition? "A galaxy where slavery is impossible," she said finally. "A galaxy where freedom is protected by force. A galaxy where no species will ever again face what we faced." She activated the ship's communication system. "This message goes out to all surviving species in this galaxy. The Coalition is dead. Their slave empire is finished. But humanity is not interested in becoming the new masters." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "We offer you a simple choice. Live free or do not live at all. Any species that attempts to enslave others will face the same fate as the coalition. Any government that treats sentient beings as property will be destroyed. The message was transmitted across the galaxy, to the survivors hiding in distant star systems, to the refugee fleets fleeing from human forces, to the few remaining alien governments trying to maintain order. We are not conquerors, Sarah continued. We are liberators. We do not want your worlds or your resources. We want your guarantee that the age of slavery is over forever. On Earth, President Harrison was watching the transmission with his cabinet. Admiral Chun has exceeded her authority, Defense Secretary Morrison said. She is making policy decisions that should come from Earth. President Harrison shook his head. No, she is doing exactly what needs to be done. The old diplomatic approaches failed. They got us 50 years of slavery. Admiral Chun's approach got us freedom. Foreign Minister Davis looked worried. Mr. President, the Admiral is threatening to commit genocide against any species that practices slavery. That makes us the galaxy's policemen. Good, President Harrison said firmly. Someone needs to be. The coalition sure was not doing the job. Back on the Vengeance, Sarah was meeting with her senior officers. They were planning the next phase of operations. What about the species that surrendered? Colonel Martinez asked. Some of them were minor players in the coalition. They barely participated in the slave trade. Sarah considered this. They voted to enslave us. They participated in our suffering. But they surrendered quickly when the war began. That counts for something. She made her decision. They will be allowed to survive, but they will be monitored. Any return to slavery and they join the extinct species. Dr. Rodriguez had a question. Admiral, what about rebuilding? The galaxy's infrastructure is destroyed. Trade networks are gone. Billions are dead. How does civilization continue? Sarah looked out at the ruins of Nexus Prime, the coalition. Capital had once been the center of galactic civilization. Now it was a dead world, a monument to the price of enslaving humanity. We rebuild it better, she said. No more slave labor. No more exploitation. No more treating sentient beings as property. She turned to her officers. The coalition lasted 3,000 years because it was built on slavery. We will build something that lasts because it is built on freedom. Agent Williams, who had joined the meeting, spoke up. Admiral, what about the humans who were born on alien worlds? Some of them have never seen Earth. They do not know our culture. Sarah had thought about this problem. Millions of humans had been born into slavery. Earth was just a name to them. They had their own cultures, shaped by their experiences on alien worlds. They are still human, she said. They still deserve freedom. We will help them build new lives, wherever they choose to live. The war was essentially over. Coalition resistance had collapsed. Most alien species were extinct or surrendered. Human rescue operations were finding the last enslaved populations. But Sarah knew the real work was just beginning. Building a new galactic order would be harder than destroying the old one. Admiral, her communication officer called out, we are receiving a priority message from the Outer Rim territories. It is from a coalition remnant fleet. Sarah activated the display. A Zephyrian admiral appeared on screen. His face was scarred and his uniform was burned. Behind him she could see the bridge of a damaged warship. Admiral Chun, the alien said, I am Admiral Vex of the Zephyrian 7th Fleet. I am authorized to offer the complete surrender of all remaining coalition forces. Sarah studied the alien. He looked defeated but not broken. And what do you want in return, Admiral Vex? Safe passage to the Outer Rim, he replied. We will never return to this galaxy. We will never practice slavery again. We just want to live. Sarah considered the offer. There were probably a few thousand alien ships left, maybe 1 million survivors total. They were no threat to anyone. Admiral Vex, she said, you have 24 hours to leave this galaxy. If any of your ships are detected in civilized space after that, they will be destroyed. If any reports reach us of your species practicing slavery, we will hunt you down and finish what we started. The Zephyrian admiral nodded. Understood? Thank you for your mercy, Admiral Chun. Do not mistake pragmatism for mercy, Sarah replied. We are letting you live because it costs us nothing. Do not make us regret it. The transmission ended. Sarah turned to her officers. That should be the last of them. Any species with the ability to fight back is dead. The survivors know what happens if they return to their old ways. 6 months later, Sarah stood in the same place where Chancellor Zixthal had once threatened humanity. The Coalition Council chamber on Nexus Prime had been rebuilt as a memorial. The walls were covered with names. 3 billion names. Every human who had been enslaved by the Coalition. At the center of the chamber stood a simple monument. It read, "They asked for war, we brought Oblivion. And from that Oblivion, we built something better." Speaker Vex approached her. The small alien had become the unofficial representative of the freed species. Admiral, the new Galactic Council is ready to convene. Representatives from 43 free species are waiting. Sarah nodded. It was time to begin building the future. The new galaxy would be different. No slavery. No exploitation. No treating sentient beings as property. Freedom would be protected by the threat of human intervention. Some called it the human peace. Others called it the long vengeance. Sarah preferred to think of it as justice. The Coalition had made their choice 50 years ago when they decided to enslave humanity. They had chosen to see humans as inferior, being suitable only for labor. They had learned the truth too late. Humans were not prey. Humans were apex predators who had spent millennia fighting their way to the top of their world's food chain. The galaxy belonged to the free now. And humanity would make sure it stayed that way, forever.